this is the same government that cut $35 million from community legal centres, which are often the first point of contact for victims of domestic violence in the first place.
So it's robbing Peter to pay Paul, and also you're pocketing $5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus, it's like the victims it's like you've been given a lifeboat, but you don't have any oars.
Yeah, or like giving them a parachute with no strings attached. And like the $30 million is a start, I suppose. You know, it'll pay for things like, you know, legal advice and services for, you know, women who've been abused or victims of domestic violence, conflict resolution, and I think there's also some money set aside for a fund so that we can kick men's rights activists in the balls when we see them. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Really going to the right place. It does sound pretty good, but out of that $30 million, there is actually $1.7 million that's been retained for the government to cover their administrational costs.
That does make sense because the government is very stationary on this issue.
And their commitment to, you know, women in Australia is paper thin.
Yeah, ignoring women's rights remains a staple of government policy.
Yeah. There is some consensus about ending the situation where a woman in court can be cross-examined by their alleged abuser. That tends to happen when defendants either can't pay for a lawyer or just don't want to pay for a lawyer, and so then end up representing themselves in court.
So that is truly horrible. How can the government fix that?
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. The way they'll do it is to amend the Family Law Act and also increase legal aid funding to allow judges to appoint a lawyer to a defendant who doesn't have one. The only difficulty with that is that the Coalition and the Labor Party can't come to any agreement about how much that would cost.
Yeah, and part of that problem is the fact that legal aid is actually not a very politically sexy issue.
No, I mean, it's not something that most voters care about, even though they really should.
Yeah, well, we didn't even notice the cuts happen in the first place, so not sexy at all.
So how do we sex this up again? How do we get the money coming back in?
Tell you later. No, last White Ribbon Day. Stop it. They flew a giant military aircraft around Australia with the white ribbon on the tail of a plane.
So that was to raise money.
It was to raise awareness.
Right. Wow. Job done. Yeah. Sorted.
Tick it off. I'm aware.
How many men wearing white ribbons does it take to raise awareness for domestic abuse?
Two. One to wear the white ribbon, and one to interrupt all the women around him and mansplain that all men are not that abusive.